my review for G.I. Joe Retaliation. However, before I talk about the movie, I want to give you people a brief history of the G.I. Joe brand. Like Transformers, G.I. Joe was a toy line by Hasbro from the 80s that turned into a cartoon. And like Transformers, it got a live-action treatment back in 2009 with G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra. Now, I actually didn't review this movie in prep for the new one's release because I actually kind of had no intention of seeing this new one, but whatever. The first one was really, really stupid. I mean, it's not a good movie at all, but it is a lot of fun to watch. It's sort of a guilty pleasure of mine, but it's not a good movie. I would not defend it in any shape or form at all. So now we got the sequel. It's pretty much the same thing, minus the fun. Okay, well, before I get into the why, what is this movie about, actually? G.I. Joe Retaliation starts out with Duke, played by Channing Tatum from the last movie, and his team that consists of Roadblock, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Lady Jane, played by Adrian Palicki, and some other guy who you're never going to remember and you don't even know who the actor is. They're sent out on a mission by the President of the United States, and they complete it with ease. However, they get into an ambush, and if you consider this next thing I'm about to say a spoiler, then hit that mute button right now. Duke gets killed in the process. So Roadblock decides to gather up any remaining Joes, including Snake Eyes and Jinx, two master ninjas, to basically retaliate against the ones who did this, which, if you are familiar with G.I. Joe, is the terrorist organization known as Cobra! That's my Cobra Commander voice, but whatever. Speaking of Cobra Commander, he is released from his prison in this movie by Storm Shadow, because in the last movie he was captured. Now his organization is rising up, with one of his agents disguised as the President of the United States. Let me just say, I'd never actually grown up on G.I. Joe, neither have I grown up on Transformers, so I kind of stayed away from Hasbro stuff. But as time went on, and as I discovered these things and sort of learned more about them, I got into Transformers and felt like there's potential for a really good movie there. But unfortunately, with you-know-who at the helm all the time, it doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. I always thought G.I. Joe was stupid. Like, it was always, like, goofy. It's basically cartoonish. But that doesn't excuse for it being a bad movie. The script is very confusing in terms of how the story's structured. The dialogue is horrible. And in terms of explaining how characters from the last movie have disappeared or aren't part of it, it's just some lazy writing. I mean, there are even points in this movie where, okay, the whole movie is marketed to where you don't need to have seen the last movie in order to see this one, since most of the cast is gone, with the exception of 2.5 actors. And yet there's stuff that happens in this movie that would confuse anyone except for those who have seen the first movie. I mean, I've seen the first movie, but when I was watching this, I was like, wait, what's going on? Why is what's a... okay, I see what's going on now, but wait, what? I mean, it's really that confusing. Unlike the first movie that had some really cool action spread throughout the movie's action here is very poorly shot and poorly edited, just like Batman Begins. Seriously, I don't understand, why can't filmmakers just shoot action from a distance? It's better to shoot action from a distance to see everything that's going on, instead of close-up where you say, okay, I can't tell what the fuck's going on. When it comes to the villain, Cobra Commander finally looks like the way he should, with helmet on, a silver mask. But just like Megatron in Transformers Dark of the Moon, they don't do anything with him. He is pretty much useless in this movie. Like, there's a part when he makes his entrance after being freed, and then he just disappears. Like, there's one point in the movie where we're like, oh yeah, Cobra Commander's here. Now let me say this, even though I said the movie lacks the ounce of fun that the first movie had, this movie does have some improvements. For one thing, the CGI. The CGI in this movie is really good this time, whereas in the last movie, I swear to God, the CGI looked like it came out of a Nintendo 64 game. It was that bad. The casting and acting is indeed better. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he always has charisma in his movies. Even at his worst, he still has some charm. Here, he's good and decent as Roadblock. Adrienne Palicki is also good, and if it weren't for Zoe Saldana, I could totally see her in the role of Gamora for Guardians of the Galaxy. The only one who really wasn't that good and didn't even seem to try in his role was Bruce Willis, which, if you've seen that trailer, you're probably thinking, oh, Jesus, Bruce Willis is in this movie? And it's just as painful as I imagined it to be. The whole movie, he's just like, I don't care what's going on. Where's my paycheck? He's basically the equivalent to Cobra Commander in this movie. You forget he's there half the time, except, unlike Cobra Commander, you don't enjoy seeing him on screen, which is really sad. Such a waste. The one thing I also really appreciate is the new Snake Eyes armor. Because in the last movie, this really weirded me out in the last movie. In the first movie, Snake Eyes looked like some dude, some just like muscle-bound guy that they just spray painted black. Like, the suit even had like lips on it. Like, how is he breathing? This looks so weird. What? This movie, it actually looks like a set of armor that actually looks pretty cool. Speaking of Snake Eyes, there's a really cool scene with him, Jinx, and Storm Shadow, and a group of ninjas on the side of a mountain that's actually pretty well done. It's the most entertaining part of this movie. The only bad thing about that scene is that it's part of a subplot involving Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Jinx, and, I'm not kidding here, a black Asian guy. I swear to God, I am not making this up, even if I tried. And that black Asian is played by RZA, and it's just like, what am I watching? I thought we got past this. Is this the 80s? I thought we got past the point of these kind of characters, and he like has that really bad Asian accent. It was a disaster movie moment where it's just like, is this for real? Am I really seeing this in a big budget G.I. Joe movie? Oh, that was just like the most ridiculous thing. So in the end, G.I. Joe Retaliation does have some improvements over its predecessor, but it's still not a good movie. With the exception of that mountain battle, it lacks the element of fun. This is the kind of movie you would rent with your friends on Blu-ray when you're bored. It's not really a good movie, and I do not at all recommend seeing it in the theater, even though it's made a lot of money in its first weekend. I'd still say you watch at your own risk. But I will say, I would rather watch this twice before I see any of the Transformers movies ever again in my life. So that's my review for G.I. Joe Retaliation, and now you know. And remember, knowing is half the battle. Thank you for watching my review. Let me know what you thought of the movie if you've seen it, and I will see you guys later. Bye.